Good morning, everyone. Thank you so very much for this opportunity to be here, and thanks to all of you if you came in from out of town this morning or last night for daring the treacherous roads to get here. I've heard from a couple of folks who are still out there making their way slowly to here, and we greatly appreciate the fact that they are doing that and that all of you are here with us this morning. I'd like to begin by also thanking the Lumina Foundation. They put out requests for grant applicants last spring. These folks would apply for grants to the Lumina Racial Justice and Equity Fund, and they were responding to incidents that had occurred across the country that they believed folks in academia could begin to address in a meaningful and in a powerful way. The Office of the Commissioner of Higher Education made application for one of those grants. We were one of 312 applicants, and we were one of 19 applicants who was selected. And so it is because of that application and that award that 110 of us who are in the house today get to come together in advocacy on behalf of 2,200 plus American Indian students across every single one of the Montana University System campuses. It gives me goosebumps. I think it's exciting and definitely worthy of applause. I'd also like to thank our partners here at Montana State University for being such extraordinary hosts and hostesses. You have poured in a lot of extra time and your talent, and we appreciate that. And as you deal with and address things on your campus today, our hearts and prayers are with you. So would all of the folks from the Montana State University campus please stand up so that we could recognize you? My name is Angela McLean, and I am the Director of American Indian and Minority Achievement and K-12 Partnerships at the Office of the Commissioner of Higher Education in Helena, and I came to this position in 2016. As I prepared for this day, one of the things that I became keenly aware of was that 24 years ago, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I was an Arley public school teacher. And I got on a school bus with a group of Arley High School seniors. We went to the NBC affiliate in Missoula, and we were a part of a Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation-sponsored, internationally televised program titled The Legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., From the Indian Reservation to the Inner City. My students got to interact with students live from Washington, D.C. They got to engage with Poet Laureate Rita Dove and Maya Angelou and a Rhodes Scholar from the University of Montana. It's interesting as I think about that because my path brought me back to Indian country when I was lieutenant governor. And my path brought me to the office of the commissioner in this position that I hold now. I don't know whether it's serendipitous. I don't know whether it's divine intervention. But advocacy on behalf of American Indian students has become a part of who I am and who I've become. And so I feel very privileged to be a small part of this extraordinary conversation. I stand here as one member of what is the Commissioner of Higher Education's American Indian and Minority Achievement Council. The council was started in 2013 by Commissioner of Higher Education Clayton Christian. And I am joined in this powerful work by folks all across our campuses, by folks from K-12, and it is extraordinary work that we have the privilege to get to do on behalf of every single one of our students across every single one of our campuses. Our AIMA Council came together yesterday in room 233, just across the hall, We had wonderful, powerful, forward-thinking conversations about what is next. This is a hard-driving, passionate, powerful group who is committed to making change. Would all of the members of the Montana University System AIMA Council please stand up so we can recognize you? These folks are relentless in the time that they give to this. They do this above and beyond their everyday schedules. They do this above and beyond what they are doing right in their own departments, on their own campuses, in regards to student advocacy. And I want every single one of my fellow council members to know the deep and sincere appreciation I have for the work that you do and for everything that you do to truly make me a better person and a stronger advocate. I'm the youngest in a family of 7. I'm one of 4 with a high school diploma and the first one in my family to go to college. So I understand as well as anybody the importance of having a champion. And it's not lost on me that in this room this morning we have 110 champions on behalf of our students across the Montana University system. That's magical. I want to thank all of the folks who have presented so far this morning. Last night at the reception, if you had the opportunity to join us, we were joined by Connie Brownotter, who's a star student here at Montana State University, and she spoke to the fact that Montana University system has created a climate for her that is one that is similar to family. And she said our students need to feel that, whether they come here, whether they go to the University of Montana, whether they go to Dawson or to Miles or to Montana Tech or to the University of Montana Western or Montana State University Billings or to Helena College. They need to feel like they are a part of a family. We also were blessed with a great song by Shantae Mitchell Standing Rock, another outstanding student who hails from Rocky Boy High School. The students last night and the students today are fine examples of the great work that we have done and the importance of the great work that we need to do. In the spring of 2016, just months after I arrived at the Office of the Commissioner of Higher Education, the Commissioner gave me the authority to launch the American Indian Scholars of the Montana University System project. I reached out to the campuses and I said, I have another ask from the Commissioner of Higher Education. Will you reach out into your student population and see if you can't find some student advocates who will support other students like them who may be coming to your campuses? Every single one of our campuses answered the call. They did it in their own magnificent and unique ways, but they answered the call. And Dawson de Montenay, who stood before you just minutes ago, he was one of those very first American Indian scholars. And so I like to think that he created a path for other students like him, because you heard the powerful story that he told, to be a successful path right here at Montana State University and a successful path across the Montana University system. So a great big thanks to all of those folks who made the time to make sure that they could be a part of our presentation this morning. We're competing with a couple of things here. And so the fact that we have 110 people, which is more than I thought that we would have here, that's quite outstanding. We're competing with an Indian Education for All Day put on by our counterparts in K-12 through the Office of Public Instruction in the rotunda of the Capitol this morning. So one of our speakers who was slated to speak today, Shantae, had to be there for their event. We're also competing with a legislative agenda that this morning happens to include our tribal college presidents. And a number of them are at the legislature advocating for non-beneficiary funding for non-Native students who would attend their campuses. And that is so very important. They promised that if they could make it here, they would, and I think that they will. I heard from one other one who is making her way down from Fort Peck and coming through Billings. She's a little bit worried about the roads. I am hopeful that before the day is out, we will be joined by enough members to make up a very good and solid tribal college panel, because it is my bet that a lot of you folks have great questions that you have been itching to ask about Montana's tribal colleges. I have a great value and appreciation for Montana's tribal colleges. And one of the reasons I have such a great value and appreciation for these 7 tribal colleges that exist across the High Line, in the furthest reaches of eastern Montana and western Montana and in the southeastern corner, is because they are where they are. And ladies and gentlemen, they are the only access point for so many of Montana's students to post-secondary education. We are the only state in the entire country with a tribal college on every single reservation. Montana just knows how to get things done, right? So I look forward to introducing our tribal college leaders to you. I know we were and continue to be blessed with the president of Chief Dull Knife College, my friend, most likely a friend to all of you, President Dr. Richard Littlebear. Will you please stand up? And if none of your colleagues arrive, you are the panel. Thank you all so very much for your commitment to this effort. That is, as my friend, my colleague, Kate Shanley from the University of Montana put so well to the council yesterday, this conversation is not only about Native students' success, it is about Native people's success. Before I move on, I'd like to make a few other introductions. I'm joined here by a couple of colleagues from the Office of the Commissioner of Higher Education. We have running the computer back there, Maria Lilrose, who is with our Educational Talent Search program that is housed in our office in the AIMA division, and she's here with her Educational Talent Search Director. We also oversee the Gear Up program, which has schools on or near reservations throughout the state of Montana. And we have our new program manager from that program, Sam Gerritsen, with us from the Office of the Commissioner. And these folks are plugging students in to our tribal colleges and to your campuses every single day. Thank you very much for being here. I'm also joined by our MUS IT director that you will hear from momentarily, John Thunstrom. And later this morning, I will be joined by Christine Miller, who is our new student success specialist. And I deeply appreciate their help in making sure that all of this could happen and go off without a hitch. I know we're joined here by a number of students from a couple of our campuses. And I cannot say enough how important and valuable it is that you are here. This conversation is about you. It is about your student counterparts who are on your campuses, and it's about your student counterparts who are yet to step foot on your campuses. Could I ask you to stand up so that we can reach out to you throughout the day, seek your advice, seek your counsel? Because, folks, you're in the trenches. You see things from a different lens. Please stand up. Let's celebrate our students. I'd also like to, before I get to officially introduce him, welcome and thank Regent Lozar for being here this morning. Great to see you. I'd also like to recognize and thank my former Regent colleague, Major Robinson, for being a part of today's important conversation. Very good and always good to see you. So, what I get the privilege of doing now, before we roll into the program for the day and what that is going to look like and the magic that is in these bright orange colorful folders, I would like to share a project that has, I think, been a labor of love of the AIMA Council. If you'll recall, in November of 2017, the AIMA Council put forth a series of recommendations to the Montana University System Board of Regents. Recommendations 4 and 5 out of the 5 recommendations spoke to the importance of professional development. Professional development by design. We recognized as a council that we're never going to get any place in a strategic way unless we do things in a strategic way. So the council embedded 2 of their recommendations out of 5, and they spoke to the importance of human resources and developing the knowledge of our faculty and staff across the Montana University system. So we started tinkering around, looking into how we could create a mechanism for professional development for every single faculty and staff member across every single campus across the Montana University system. We looked to our partners in K-12, and they had an Office of Public Instruction hub course called Indian Education for All. In March of this last year, we started spending more time with OPI and looking into their hub course. In July of last summer, a team of AIMA Council members went over to the Office of Public Instruction and sat down with Mike Jetty, who's the Indian Education for All specialist at the OPI, and worked with him in his basement on developing the components of the Indian Education for All in Montana for one MUS. We got it pretty well polished at the Office of Public Instruction. They shipped it out to our office in late September. Then I just stumbled upon, and I'm not sure how it happened, but maybe it's serendipitous, but it was fortunate for us, a fellow by the name of Dr. Robert Squires from the University of Montana. And I have been singing his praises ever since, because we shipped all of the components that would be the IFA course for one MUS over to him. And he has a team there. And I'm not sure of all of the hours they have spent investing in developing this course that I am about to unveil to you, the largest group to see it. Now, one of the things that the AIMA Council did with professional development and recommendations 4 and 5 was they said, we want every campus to have a plan in place for professional development. It doesn't need to be what we're providing, but you need to have something in place. And we're going to ask about who's taken your professional development. And we're going to report those numbers to the Montana University System Board of Regents. So it doesn't have to be this. But the magic in this course is that it is available, as Chancellor Blackheader said last night, from his couch. And folks can log on and complete it in about an hour and a half. We understand, folks, that there's different levels of understanding about Montana's First People. But we also recognize that in this course, we have nuggets of information that we think everybody will get to take something new away from it. We're already talking perhaps about a level 2 and scaffolding our instruction and really just going up from here. But this is a first step so that we can, as a council, we can, as a community who care about this conversation, say with a degree of certainty, we know what you know, and you know enough to support American Indian students on your campus better today because of that course than you might have a week ago or a month ago. So at this time, I'd like to unveil just one single part of the course that I think speaks to the diversity of Montana's First People in the Big Sky State. The course is a good one. It's complete. Dr. Squires from the University of Montana is putting the final touches on the course, even as we speak today. He's been in touch with your IT people on your campuses. The University of Montana Western already unveiled it for a small group, and now I'm going to let you watch a video that was developed by the Department of Commerce, and it is a component, a small component of the Indian Education for All for one MUS course.
Tarojan. I'm Salish Pandare.
Al Weisman's my name.
My name is Waddell Stump Sr.
My name is Earl, old person.
My name is George Charles Nightwalker.
My name is Burton Putting on Top Sr. My crew name is Chilak Shadube. Translation means 2 mornings.
My name is Robert Magnet.
Dr. Florence McGeeshick Garcia.
My name is George Horace Capture Jr.
My Indian name is Maistuaki, which means Crow Woman. Native people have an appreciation for the landscape and the land, and they've taken care of this land for a long, long time. You know, I go as far as saying millenniums. And I think that's one thing that connects all Native tribes at some point or another is valuing land. My favorite thing is just being able to roam all over Blackfoot territory, look at the landscape from a Native perspective, thinking, okay, my ancestors were here, like to see what the landscape has as far as stories and what it can tell us as people today.
I don't know there's very many places like this that exist on Earth anymore. This land might be on a map in southeastern Montana today, but there's so much more involved in how that came to be.
We share many traditions and values is what brings us together. Generosity, humility, honesty. Those are things I think that really manifest themselves here in a place that is very rural, very remote. And that's really, you know, a very almost sacred thing.
We have shared history, shared culture, but we're very diverse and many different combinations, from traditional to very advanced technologically, to progressive thinking, to very conservative socially. We cover a real spectrum of diversity within our own community.
What I always hope to see is that my people have the ability to understand the elements of nature, what role they play in my survival, my people's survival, particularly the up-and-coming generations, the young people.
In my view, the buffalo were a metaphor for our people in terms of the buffalo were at one time plentiful, more than plentiful. And they lived their lives and they provided life to our people. The buffalo were nearly annihilated. Where, you know, it's a blessing that we even have any true buffalo here. I see a parallel there in what happened to the buffalo and what happened to Native people in this country. You know, Native people, you know, at one time roamed free, lived their lives the way they wanted to, and were almost annihilated. And now we're coming back just like the buffalo. So that to me is something that just brings me so much hope.
You're smelling what the prairie used to smell like and what the prairie should smell like. Close your eyes. Find a little time to sit back in the sun. Open up your mind. It's cool. If you're really lucky, sometimes I'll give you a glimpse, like I show you a slideshow of how things were.
Even them just being out there, to know, you know, that connection for us to that animal is there. And if we want to see it, we want to go out there and look at it, pray to it, talk to it, sing to it, it's there for us to do that. And that's part of that healing process for us. This is part of who we are, and we don't want to lose it.
I envision my people having a better understanding of their way of life, both language and ceremony and song.
We were always taught by our elders to be proud of who you are and what you are, because we are what we are until we die.
I admire a lot of our young people. They want to go back and try to revive those things.
Today, when we put up our lodges, it's an opportunity for families to share with their children and grandchildren those traditional stories, that they know who they are as people. It is our way of celebrating the past into the new.
I want our ancestors to realize that we're doing something good here, something that they died for, that eventually can have positive results.
It's important for us as Indian people to continue to teach and to share what we have, so that hundreds of years down the road, they're still baking camas in the pit. They're still speaking our language.
To really understand us, you're not going to find us in a history book. You're not going to find us in a museum. You might find the remnants of us, but you ain't going to find us. It would be good if people had the time, if they really wanted to know us, laugh and cry with us, participate in our ceremonies, share your ceremonies with us.
It brings me pride to know that I'm able to help people to understand and to learn that we're not forgotten.
It's good that we have two different kinds of life, you know. We have our traditional way, our Indian way of life, and then we enter into the life today. And it's important to our young people to remember that that's the life we're going to have to work toward.
That would be my goal, that would be my dream, that our children will take their place in our society in a good way if the foundation is solid. That foundation engulfs our language, our spirituality, then they can build on that.
Our life is good, and it can be good. It's up to us individually.
So you can go back and you can spread the word that Indian Education for All in Montana for 1MUS is a course that is coming soon to a campus near you. I would ask for your support of your IT folks as they roll this out. I think our office, in conjunction with the Board of Regents, is cooking up some kind of cross-system competition as far as getting the professional development taken. And we'll do that in conjunction probably with the March and the May Board of Regents meeting, because we think there is unique and important content. And I want to stress that that course that will be available, that is about an hour and a half long, came about as a result of $0 being spent, just human resource capital being spent on the part of AIMA council members and our friends at the Office of Public Instruction, and getting permission from the Department of Commerce to use that video that you just saw. As you prepared for the summit, I sent out a pre-conference rubric. With that pre-conference rubric, I sent you some data. One of the things that the campuses need to do is take a look at where their American Indian student and faculty and staff data is and what it reflects. And we want to make that, as a council, a habit that campuses will take on. The AIMA Council certainly understands that we can't measure all of our American Indian student success efforts with each benchmark, but we believed it was important to think beyond the enrollment and the retention numbers and to start looking at some other pieces of data, and that's recommendation 3 of our recommendations that we put forth to the Board of Regents in November of 2017. And we created a list of items that we believed were important for campuses to examine on a routine level. And we began to work with our IT person in the Montana University system and provide you a first glimpse as campuses into that data. And right now we are working as an OCHE team to determine how we can roll out an American Indian student dashboard in the fall of 2019 so that it is right there, it is at your fingertips, it is usable, and it is something that you can apply very easily in conversations like the ones we're having today, as well as conversations back at home on your campuses. As we started to look at the data, as I conversed with Regent Lozar about what today might look like and the emphasis on the data ahead of the conference and going forward, we think it's important for you to understand where that data comes from and to understand that every campus in the MUS is being compared in the same way. So I wanted to, as part of that conversation, make sure you heard it from the IT godfather himself, John Thunstrom, in the Montana University system. And he joins us here this morning. John?
Thank you very much for having me today. That's a lofty title that I have no chance of living up to. So thanks for setting the expectations too high. I wanted to start off just to kind of go over a few of the things that we have as far as goals with the information that we've provided you. The data that has been sent out to each of your campuses is not meant as a be-all and end-all of everything that encompasses what you do in terms of student success for your Native American populations. What it is a way to quantify some of the things that you're doing and be able to gauge whether or not, as part of a larger examination, whether or not the efforts that you are having or that you're taking on are leading to success down the road. So just to couch that, what I kind of wanted to talk about today and what Angela has asked me to talk about today is just where the data comes from, how we collect it, and how we use it across the system, not only for this population, but for the MUS population as a whole. So I've noticed that there are a few registrars out in the audience today, and they are very familiar with me about twice a semester hassling them about their extracts. They have to get their extracts ready for me. And what that means is that on the 15th class day, what we call our census, and at the end of the term, we collect 2 snapshots of data. And that includes information on enrollment, that includes information on coursework, and on the end of term, it includes things like grades and outcomes, so the kinds of completions that we get. All of that data is derived directly from the banner systems on each of the campuses. So many of you are probably familiar with the student information systems and HR and finance systems that run on your campuses. All of the information that we collect at OCHE is derived from those locations. So it's consistent and it is uniform across the system. We gather that information in a consistent fashion across the entire system and gather it up at OCHE so that we can do reporting out on the population of the system as a whole. The HR information that we get particularly is done on a monthly basis, and that the basis for the HR components that you've got there is a snapshot of what happened in November. And we chose that date or that month in time because it's a time when most of the campuses have their kind of filled out faculty, their staffing is kind of uniform, and it's one of the kind of peak times for all those things. So that was a good measurement point for us to take at that point. The data that we gathered is the same as the data that we use to build all of the dashboards that are available on the MUS website. So if you go to mus.edu and you click on Data and Reports, and there's another link for dashboards, there are a number of dashboards that are available that report on a whole slew of things. Those include things like headcount and demographic information, information on first-time freshman populations and first-time freshman retention or persistence. We have grad rates available there in terms of associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees. Those are 2, 4, 6-year graduation rates, and the rates that you received in your packets are 6-year graduation rates, but those are comparable to all the other grad rates that we have there and are calculated in the same fashion. And then also the degrees awarded dashboard that we have, which shows completions for things like associate's degrees, associate's level certificates, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and doctorates. And all that information then, I just wanted to be clear that that's stuff that we collect for the entire system and the populations as a whole. The information that you've been provided has simply been filtered out for American Indian and Alaska Native populations. And that information is derived, again, by your student information systems. When students first log on and do registration, one of the very first things that they're asked is to provide us with information on race and ethnicity. So it's not a perfect collection. Students have the opportunity to opt out of that collection, but for those who indicate that they are one of those populations, that's how we gather that information and how it ends up getting to the Commissioner's office. I also wanted to make sure that everyone here knows that if you have IR or institutional research staff or programmers or reporting folks at your campuses, that they are absolutely free to reach out to me. I'm happy to provide all of the coding, all of the underlying data that is used to gather up those statistics. If your campus wants to utilize those in your internal reporting and work that off of your own banner systems, you can do that in real time. I'm happy to provide all that information. Just please have those folks reach out to me directly via email or phone. And my contact information is again available on the OCHE website, mus.edu. A couple of things, just again, for key takeaways on the data is that I want to just reiterate that it is very consistent across the campuses. We gather the same information in the same fashion from each and every campus so that we're able to compare apples to apples. The same processes, the same coding is used. All the metrics that we have presented to you are metrics that we use for the entire population of the university system, not just for Native populations. But it does give you a snapshot of what's happening with that kind of narrowed down focus that we've been able to provide for you today. And again, just to reiterate what Angela had mentioned earlier, we are working on providing a dashboard similar to all the other dashboards that we have out there that is specific to this report card that we've provided for you today so that you'll have that information constantly at your fingertips, and we'll update that with every extract that we get on those 15th class days and end of term information. The last thing I'll mention is just that I welcome your feedback. Any questions, comments you've got about any of the information that was presented to you in your report cards, please feel free to approach me anytime throughout the day. I'm happy to answer any questions that you've got about how that information was derived. If there are other things that you would like to see or have questions about, want to learn more about what OCHE has in terms of data or things that we could get that would help you in kind of devising your strategies as you're working through the day, I'm happy to answer those questions. And I'm just very happy to be here and really appreciate the time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. And he will be available to answer questions and sign autographs as necessary throughout the morning. So now we have arrived at the point in our agenda where we can talk about what today is going to look like. And I'm going to do this quickly before I have the privilege of introducing our keynote speaker. Once our keynote speaker is done, we will go to a break. But before we get there, I would just like to do a brief overview of what the rest of the day is going to look like after that break. We're going to start at 10:30 in department level breakouts. And the department level breakout sessions are in your packets, and they are orange. And I guided you through what each of those should look like pretty well step by step. However, I will be facilitating them here from the microphone, answering questions, etc. We have students here. We have faculty and staff here. What I ask you to do as you consider where to land for those departmental conversations is consider where you might be able to lend your best expertise the most, whether it's in the registrar's office and you talk about transfers, and if it's in the admissions office, or if it's in the financial aid office. I want you to consider where it is that you want to go, and there are table tents on each of the tables that indicate where each of those groups should meet. As you go there, if you need to pull up seats, please do. Add to your tables as you need to do that. We will go through each of these orange sheets as a group. Yesterday, we talked in the AIMA Council about how there may not be enough space here on the back of this sheet for you to input best practices that you want to take home to your campus, or practices that you want to share with your campuses later this afternoon. Use your notebooks, use your laptops, use whatever it is that you need to use to make sure you leave here with the tools that you need to have in your toolbox to better support American Indian student success. As you consider this in your departmental meetings, as you go throughout the day, I really want you to think about what does the end of the day look like. At the end of the day, I'm going to ask every single campus to list their goals, their 1-month goal, their 3-month goal, their 6-month goal. And it can be related to developing your AIMA plan. It could be related to something entirely different that you think will support American Indian students on your campus. I also ask you to think about, in every conversation that you're going to have today, and with everything that you're going to listen to today, what is my role in impacting American Indian student success in what I do? Give that special thought and special consideration. So at 10:30, you're going to be getting into your departmental meetings, and we will be going through this facilitated conversation. We will be going to lunch at 11:45. I imagine it's going to be set up over here. And this pink slip that is in your packet, this is your lunch ticket. And you need to write down on here something that you learned about American Indian student success today. And Maria Lilrose back there is going to be putting them into the system, and you'll see some of them projected throughout the rest of the afternoon. Then once lunch is complete, our Tribal College President's panel will convene, and I hope that you're thinking about thoughtful questions that you can pose to President Little Bear during that panel. Then we will come together after the panel, and we will come together as campuses. Now, some of you may need 2 or 3 tables, and that is just fine. But to make this work, I think best, you might just want to divide your groups up. You might want to pull your tables together, however you think is going to work best for you. You may do that. If you want to take 3 separate tables, that might be a really good model, or 2 separate tables if your team is so big. But what I do ask is that everyone is very thoughtful and deliberative in completing the rubric. Everyone makes sure that everyone participates in the conversation. I ask for you as a campus to grade your implementation of the AIMA plan, to be thoughtful and considerate about what you have done so far. I also ask at the end of that about responsibility. Once that plan is updated, who's going to send it to me? I have 2 asks as far as takeaways and to-dos once you leave here today. One ask is that you will update your AIMA action plan based on your pre-conference conversations, your conversations here today, and any post-conference conversations that you have, and submit those new action plans to me at the Office of the Commissioner by March 1st. My second ask, and this was the idea of Dr. Lindsay yesterday in the AIMA Council, is that you submit to me your campus's single best practice in any of your departments, in any area where it is being executed, and send that over to me with a paragraph of a description about how it is working, what it is, who the key players are in implementing it, because we want to put together a best practices list for the AIMA Council and for all of you to support the work that you will continue to do. So that is a really quick overview of what today is going to look like. Once we're done with the campus visits, I'm going to ask that you complete your 1, 3, and 6 month goals, and also complete the My Role sheet and sign in the form of perhaps an attestation that you are committed, by golly, to just getting the job done on your campus when it comes to American Indian student success. Now, before I introduce our keynote, just a couple of other things. In addition to your lunch ticket, I'm also going to ask that if you have your cell phones or your computers handy, that you take part in tweeting out about the summit. Our hashtag is AIMA Summit 19. And I ask that you tweet there. You can tag the Lumina Foundation. You can tag your campus. And we'll be showing various tweets that you tweet out from the summit throughout the rest of the morning and throughout the afternoon.